Mark out Mania. Mark out Mania. It's Saturday morning and we're marking out on Out Mania.
Yeah, marking out, baby. Mark out mania. Saturday morning. What's up, guys? Good morning.
Hola,
Hey,
amigos.
what's up, everybody?
How's everybody doing today? We good?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, wonderful. How are you doing, James?
I am good, Zeus. Thank you very much. How are you doing, Pedro? You good today?
Oh, yeah, I'm doing good. I'm ready to mark out Mania with my amigos.
Yes,
Uh,
sir. We're
Yan-
gonna mark out.
Yankees
Mark
number
out.
one fan,
There we
James
go.
Extreme Sarno, and the God of Thunder, an artist extraordinaire, Zeus King Dark.
Yeah. There you go. The innovator
Thank you,
of the
thank
dot
you.
technique.
All right, so this week we are going to be talking about our first live shows. You got four old guys here, and and we are going to be going back in time
Woo.
to our youth. And who wants to start it off?
I'll do it real quick. I'll do a real quick one. We're gonna go back to the '80s, guys. Okay. My first real show it was a WWF house show over at Madison Square Garden. I had no clue I was going. It was a surprise. I was a little kid. And I
That's
walked into
awesome.
the garden. Yeah, I walked into the garden, and I was like, like, oh my God, are we actually going to see some wrestling? And it was like, yes, it was a nice surprise. I saw Jimmy Superfly Snooker, Big John Studd, Roddy Piper, SD Special Delivery Jones, Rocky Johnson. It was awesome. I loved it. I had a great time. Those guys were all like, larger than life. I was in awe. I lost my mind. I was going crazy.
Oh, my
I
God.
I
And
actually
that's
came
the same year
home.
that WrestleMania. That was the same year of WrestleMania.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was right before WrestleMania happened. And
And I mean, I've not, I've never gotten to be, I've never gotten to Madison Square Garden, but that's really amazing. Was it packed?
it was jam packed. It was jam packed. I mean, it was to me. It looked like there was 100,000 people there. I mean,
Yeah.
but it was so many people. Everybody was cheering. Everybody was clapping. Everybody was booing. I came home with a sore throat. I was going nuts. And then, I fell in love with Don Morocco because, like he was power driving everybody, he was giving everybody the Hawaiian hammer, which is now
Oh yeah,
known as
Don
the
the Rock.
tombstone. Yeah. So he was Hawaiian hammering people. He was giving people all these power drivers. I was going crazy. It was fun. It was fun. I had a great time. I had popcorn thrown in my face. It was awesome. I loved it.
Oh, my
Was
God.
was Morocco a face at the time?
No, he was a heel. He was just about to turn. He was just about to turn. He was just
That's
about to
awesome,
turn.
man. He
hmm
he you know he was everywhere. He traveled everywhere back in the day.
Yeah, I always liked him because I thought he was a bad guy who can actually wrestle. you know. All the heels back in the day, all they do was kick and punch. He's doing figure fours. He's doing the abdominal stretch. He's doing pile drivers. He was doing
Yeah, and he
actually
was
wrestling
heavy.
moves. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he was heavy and he was really strong too.
He was drop kicking, and he's a big guy. I was like, this guy can actually wrestle. So that's how I
Yeah,
fell in love with the Magnificent Morocco and all those guys back in the day. It was Madison Square Garden. It was crazy, and it was a good time. It was a good time. I
yeah.
even saw
If you've
Captain Lou
never
Albano. I
seen
went nuts.
if you've never seen Don the Rock Morocco stuff, definitely do a YouTube search because
Yeah,
I mean
he
that guy was really good back in the day, and then like all the way through like the early '90s because he was in on a ECW when
yes.
it was Eastern Championship Wrestling.
Yep, you got it, Zeus. Exactly. Yep, I saw him there too. I was like, awesome. He was awesome. He was awesome. How about you, Zeus? How about you?
First, my first ever wrestling event live, same year. Okay, same year, about the same time of year to be exact. It was like um, late March sometime.
Mhm.
I don't I you know my first show I had the ticket stub, but it was $6 for front row
Oh,
seats.
$6. Can you imagine?
Yeah, and it was for a double TV taping, uh, worldwide, NWA worldwide, and um, NWA Mid Atlantic Wrestling.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, like, time plays tricks on you because you can't. Sometimes you don't remember exactly what happened, and
Right.
sometimes you think some things that happened didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I had at some point I'd written down what I thought had happened, and I got that like on a little legal pad, and then there's actually a database of like all these NWA, WCW, WWF house shows and all these things, and this one has not been added by anybody to that database yet, but it was me and my best friend Steven. And if you're like looking at the main camera angle where they're showing the whole ring, we
Mm-hmm.
were kind of behind the back left turnbuckle. And so so after we went and it was on TV, like it was a couple of weeks later, and it's like my phone started ringing off the hook. And it was all my friends from school. They were calling me and they were like, "Man, you and Steve are on TV. You and Steve are on TV." And it was back when everybody had landlines. And so
Actual
we
real
got to the
phones were
arena.
being used.
Yeah, and I'm sure it was like this at Madison Square Garden too. But there was a cloud of cigarette and cigar smoke above the ring.
Wow.
I mean, it was a literal, like, it was probably 10 feet above the ring, and it was probably 4 feet thick of cigarette smoke. Now, you got to remember, this is Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Town's named after 2-packs of cigarettes.
Yeah, there it is.
It's the home of RJR Tobacco. Everybody smoked in Winston-Salem.
Mm-hmm.
So, and of course, you go to a TV taping, and back then, of course, that was all pretty much squash matches.
Yeah.
And so, about a year ago, I discovered that somebody had uploaded the worldwide show to YouTube, and so, like, I know exactly what happened now, and some of my memories were confirmed. Like, it was Nikita Koloff with Crusher Khrushchev. Ivan wasn't there that night.
Crusher Khrushchev. Wow, I remember him.
And they were the world tag team and world 6-man tag team champions at the time. And Ric Flair was a face at this point, and because he was feuding with evil Russian Nikita. And Nikita had just started using Cobra Clutch after the Russian Sickle as another finisher to, like, make it seem more dangerous. And he wrestled Rocky King that night, and he hit him with the Russian Sickle, which was not a great one. You've seen sometimes these guys, they cut whole flips on his arm.
Yeah.
And then he put him in that in the Cobra Clutch, and that was the end of that. And then him and Crusher are leaving the ring, and, like, Nikita grabbed the ring barrier, moved the whole ring barrier like 4 inches, and we were on the exact opposite side when he was walking out of the ring area and did that, and I remembered that, and that's also on the tape.
Oh, that's
they
cool.
Caught that on the tape, and so, like, Buddy Landell wrestled twice. He wrestled on both of those shows. And then
This
I
is
think
awesome.
I think Nikita and Crusher wrestled on the other show, but like I said,
I watched
can't
Buddy
find it.
Landell. I watched Buddy Landell actually beat up Lasertron. Remember him?
Holy moly!
Oh yeah,
The Lasertron,
oh
yeah, the
yeah,
WCW Worldwide show, yeah. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, Zeus, go ahead. You
yeah,
said Buddy
yeah.
Landell. That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, and JJ Dillon was managing Black Bart, Ron Bass, and Buddy Landell at the time. And this was, and he wasn't there that night, but this was during, where Tully Blanchard and Baby Doll were, were ruling the NWA World TV title. And so this is all right there, just as the formation of the Horsemen was happening, because like in between some of the matches, they'd show the clips from Georgia where Ole told Thunderbolt to go piss off, and they, he
Thunderbolt
was inside
Patterson,
with his family, Arn, and then later in the show they also showed where Arn was wrestling Manny Fernandez in the Georgia studios, and Ole came in and they beat up Manny Fernandez, and then Thunderbolt came in, they beat up Thunderbolt, and then they, and we didn't get to see like where the promos were. They weren't broadcast to the arena. You couldn't hear what they were saying, so you could see people over there doing promo work and things like that in between some of the matches, but you couldn't hear it. Which, I mean, I was like, man, that sucks.
yeah.
And so we, so then it was Arn versus some dude named Ron Rossi. I wouldn't know that if I hadn't watched it just now, but he was, he was working on the arm, and the referee was trying to get Arn to stop, and then finally Manny Fernandez comes in.
Manny Fernandez,
and tries to rescue
Manny Fernandez, the Raging Bull.
the Raging Bull, and so Arn knocks out Manny out of the ring and slams his head into the ring post, and he keeps on beating up this other poor schlep in the ring, and then finally Boogie Woogie Man, Jimmy Valiant, and Pistol Pez Watley came in and make the save.
Pez Watley, oh my God!
Yes, and that was when Jimmy was running around with that axe handle.
Yeah, I remember that. Oh my God! Yes, that's right. That's right.
He called the axe handle his old lady.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Good memory, Zeus. Good memory. Wow.
Yeah. And so Manny's bleeding from the getting hit into the ring post, and the guy cut off the ending, because what they used to do at the end of Worldwide and the NWA Mid-Atlantic shows was they would show like a part in slow motion as the credits would roll down. Okay, and I vividly remembered this happening because because Jimmy Valiant comes out to help Manny Fernandez, and he's like, he picks up Manny by the head, and he's holding his hair back, so like you can see the blood just trickling down his face in slow motion as the credits are rolling down. And you can barely see, because it's tape degradation from 35 years ago now, almost 30 years ago now. But me and my buddy Steven, we were in the background behind all this happening.
That's so cool. That is so cool.
Yeah, and as the credits were finishing up, the cameraman kept zooming in closer and closer, and you could see us standing there on the front row watching this happen. And you can barely get a glimpse of it, of us there, before the YouTube video ends, and it's just it was just just this amazing thing. It's like here's Jimmy Valiant showing you. It's like, hey Daddy, this is what happens. It's like you remember what you did to Manny because this is what's going to happen to you, and he's just going off, and I believe Worldwide was the first show, and then they changed the ring aprons for the Mid Atlantic show. And during that
always wanted to go to
show,
one of those studio shows. Always wanted to see, like, because it looks so small and it was very intimate.
Small. This was in the Winston-Salem, the Coliseum Annex.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't in the TV studios.
No. This was because it was really rare for them to come to Winston for a TV taping like that back then. They did most of that in most of that studio stuff from the NWA was in Raleigh. But they started doing worldwide shows in small arenas that were, like 4,000, 6,000 seats in the mid 80s. And I believe it was about 4,000 to 6,000 is what the Winston-Salem arena held. And it was I don't think it was completely packed, but I know there was a shit ton of people there.
Yeah, it always seems like that. It always seems like there's like 100,000 people there. That's how I felt to go on. I felt like there was 100,000 people there.
Yeah, and then see in the Mid Atlantic show, Dick Slater was there.
I believe, Dirty Dick Slater.
Mm-hmm. And Ron Bass, because Ron Bass and Black Bart were the long riders, and they were
I remember that.
They were still like the Mid Atlantic Tag Team Champions. That was before they retired those belts.
I was just about to say, I remember those ugly belts they used to have. Oh, they were brutal.
Yeah, they were like plaques. They looked like plaques on leather straps.
Those were brutal belts.
Yeah, and then there was Arn Anderson versus Pistol Pez Watley was in a Mid Atlantic show, and but what had happened is Arn attacked Pistol Pez before the match started and beat him up, and they were like, "Well, that's not a match," And so then Manny Fernandez came in, and so it was Arn versus Manny, and that was a big fight. Now, see, here's where my memory plays tricks on me because like all right, and then see, part of the reason this ended up being so special to me is because my best friend Steven was killed by a drunk driver in 1995.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
And so this is like one of the things that I have to remember him by. And so I got nobody to verify this, and I haven't been able to ask Arn, and I doubt he'd remember it. But there was a point where Manny was fighting Arn outside of the ring. He slammed Arn's head into the ring post, like Arn had done to him earlier that night. And we were yelling at Arn to get up, and we actually saw him blade. And
nice.
He went. Yeah, he was right in front of us. He went under the ring, got a razor blade, one of the square ones,
the old school ones.
Yeah, and put it between his two middle fingers, and slapped himself on the forehead.
Wow.
And then how he used to do that signature kind of handshake, where he'd flick his hand.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he flicked his hand, and the razor blade went back under the ring apron.
Nice. The art of bleeding.
Yeah. I mean, it was really, he did it perfectly, but he was literally, a foot or two away from us, right in front of us. And so we're holding on to this, to the fence, the ring barrier. And we're yelling at him. We're like, get up, Baldy, come on. And it's like, you getting your ass kicked. We're just giving Arn all kinds of shit. Well, he puts his hand on the ring barrier right beside mine. Okay. And this is where I can't swear to what happened. But what I remember is Arn his fingers are touching my hand. Then he reached over and grabbed my wrist and squeezed the shit out of my wrist. Now,
Oh
I'm
my
14
God.
years old. I'm 14 years old.
Oh my God.
100, maybe 140 pounds. He squeezed the shit out of my wrist.
Oh.
Picked himself up. 250-pound man picked himself up off his knees. And then he falls back against the ring apron. Okay? He falls back against the ring apron, looks at me and winks, and gets back in the ring.
That's awesome.
I had to pee so bad, I was about to die. I mean, not just like, felt like he, like you got two bones in your forearm. I swear to God, he pressed them together.
Yeah.
And my buddy, and like I said, see, part of the problem is Steven passed away. So I got nobody to confirm this. And like I said, I don't have that show on tape either. So, it's like that match like ended in a, I think Manny might have won that match, but and another match was the Barbarian against Boogie Woogie Man.
Barbarian.
Barbarian, yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Tonga, it was because he was just the Barbarian in Mid-Atlantic and Jim Crockett, and he was being managed by Paul Jones.
Yeah, by Paul Jones. Yep. Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah, and Paul Jones was at war with Boogie Woogie Man. I mean, they had like they warred for like 4 years in Mid-Atlantic, and so after the match with Boogie Woogie Man, I was approached by this dude. He looked like kind of like Downtown Bruno. Black hair, black beard,
Harvey Whippleman,
glasses. Right. And he's like, "Hey man," he's like, "I love the way you cheered for Boogie Woogie Man." He's like, "You want to? I'm his manager. Do you want to buy some, some
God.
Boogie Woogie merchandise?" I'm like, "This is how we sell merchandise in 1985. We don't have a stand. We got a guy going through the crowd looking for marks. Who, apparently I was. And I bought a Boogie Woogie Man button. It was a picture. It was a photo of his face with a red background on a button, and I bought the 45 single that Boogie Woogie Man said.
Oh my God! You got to be kidding!
Do you still got that?
I was just about to ask that. Oh, Zeus, you got to find that.
Guess what the other side of it is?
What?
It's a Jerry Lawler song.
What?
Oh my
Sung
God.
by Jerry Lawler.
You got to find that, Zeus.
I've seen, and other people have owned them too. I'll post it later on Twitter.
Okay.
But yeah, it was a real thing. Existed. It was like I think it was Capitol Records, and it was recorded in Nashville. And it's like, go figure. And so it's like, all this amazing stuff really happened in like a it's probably like a 3 or 4 hour night for $6. I mean, like how do you beat that?
I would have had a T-shirt made up the next day. Arn Anderson winked at me.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put that on a T-shirt.
Nearly broke my arm.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put that on a T-shirt.
And I swear, also thinking back on it, I think Boogie Woogie Man's manager even saw that too. I mean, he was just, he's like, "Hey man, you okay?" And it's like, "Yeah, I think I'll be all right." I was like, "I really got to take a piss."
That's a hell of a first show, man. That's cool.
He had an old briefcase that was full of, and there was like 8x10s and those buttons and the records and my buddy Steven was like, "Don't buy that crap, man. This is junk." He's like, "Don't buy that."
What?
He's like, "Don't buy that stuff." And I bought it anyway. I'm glad it did.
Zeus spending his hard-earned money on a 45.
on a 45 and a button.
Good job.
All right, James. Amazing. Pedro. Let's hear your first.
Oh well. Before I get to that, I just want to touch on some of the stuff. James, Madison Square Garden. I am so
Yeah, man.
I'm so envious.
It was something. It was something. It makes you feel very small. It does. It makes you feel very small because everything's so grandiose. You know, everything's big. It's just, you know, it's amazing. It's amazing. It was right before WrestleMania too. Right before the first WrestleMania.
It's unbelievable. I mean, Madison Square Garden has such a big presence in our like culture in a way here in the United States. And like not just with the wrestling, you know, like
Everything.
I was
Yeah.
a huge boxing fan. Like when I was younger, I was a massive boxing fan. So I used to watch all the old boxing matches. I could like ESPN would show like really old ones, and I would just about them. And so Madison Square Garden was like this mythical, you know, place.
Well, it was deep for us. It was a little different because it was where the Knicks played. It was where the Rangers played. So we already knew, it was like home for us already. So when I went to the wrestling, I was like, oh my god, you know, because I've only been there when it was a Knick game. So I have never seen a setup for a wrestling show. And it was a surprise, like I said, and everything just looked so big. Like, you know, like even the people standing next to me were big. You know, like everybody was just big. It was loud. It was crazy. And that was my first show. And I was like, wow, you know, like I'm sitting in the third row on the second deck in Madison Square Garden, you know, like awesome.
It's amazing. But I'm envious of both of you, by the way, just because
I'm envious of Zeus that Arn Anderson winked at him. That's kind of sexy.
Arn Anderson nearly broke his arm, then winked at him.
Yeah,
and he got to see the blading happen. Like,
yeah, that's awesome, man. It has some good stuff.
His first show is like on tape. Like he
you can go back and find the tape and watch it.
That is like, oh.
I can see a little Zeus.
Part of the reason I want to find that Mid-Atlantic show so bad to see if there's any video evidence of that.
What was your first show, Pedro?
Okay, so say by like 1989. My brother Larry and I were really getting that itch where we really wanted to see wrestling live. You know, you'd always say when you watch WWF Superstars or the WWF Challenge or whatever, wrestling talents on Saturday
shows, yeah.
So they would advertise the local shows like before, you know, in between stuff, you know, Sean Mooney would be like from that place or whatever with all the televisions and stuff behind him.
Sean Mooney, oh my god.
And so we'd hear about shows being, you know, WWF would be having shows at the Summit, which the Summit to us back then was, you know, kind of like our local MSG, you know, we considered it like a big deal. The Rockets played there, all the big concerts happened there. And then, you know, on the NWA, they would be promoting shows on air for the Sam Houston Coliseum.
And World Class down there too, right?
Well, World Class was up in Dallas, in that area, in the Sportatorium. But yeah, I lived in Southeast Texas, so like this is like, you know, closer to us. So we were around 1989. We were really wanting to go see, but we couldn't. You know, it wasn't feasible at that time. But we would still ask. You know, like when we'd hear shows coming, we'd be like, you know, oh, could we go? And be like, you know, no, not this time. And so this drags on, and then in I think it's around sometime in 1991. They were coming, and the advertised main event was the Ultimate Warrior versus the Undertaker.
Oh, nice.
So, like, we at that time we were still really big Ultimate Warrior fans. And so,
did you paint your face, Pedro? Yeah, you painted your face, did you?
No, I did not paint my face. I did not paint my face. Yeah, we. My dad like surprised us. He was like, "Okay, I got tickets." Like my brother Larry, me, and my dad were gonna go to the Summit to watch this house show. And so I was like, "Oh my god!" So in preparation for this show, because you'd always see people with signs, they do stuff on the poster board. You see, so I was working really hard on this Ultimate Warrior sign. Now I have no concept at this point. It hasn't dawned on me because I'm a little slow and stuff. It hasn't dawned on me. I don't know where our seats are. I don't have concept about nosebleed seats or this or that seats.
Right. All you knew that.
I just like I'm going to the show.
Yeah, that's it. That's all you knew.
So I work on this poster. I do this drawing of the Ultimate Warrior. I take my time. It looks really awesome. I'm like so proud of it, so excited. My brother Larry was doing a poster of the Road Warriors because they were on that show.
Nice.
And he never finished his because he was always slower at drawing than I was. But yeah, he never finished it. But so we go to the show. It's the day of the show. I think I had school. We had school that day, and then we came home, and we took off for Houston. And we go there, and it's like, wow, you've seen my first time seeing the summit in person, and the summit is very dear to my heart because I saw so many things there throughout the 90s and stuff as I got older, and I always feel sad about the summit because later it became they renamed it the Compact Center, and then later it's now like that Joel Osteen Church. It's that. So last year during Hurricane Harvey, that one story about where they went and opened the church, and people were going by and live streaming like that the church wasn't flooded and all this stuff. That was the summit, and it's like real sad for a lot of us old folks like who remember all this, all this cool shit from the summit. But anyways. So we go to this summit. It's like, oh, it's the summit, and we're in line, and I've got that poster, and people, there's people are coming up to us like, oh, that's so awesome, that's such a great poster, and my dad is all proud, he's like, yeah, my son drew that, he did that poster. And so then, they open the doors and we're going to go in, and the people taking the tickets, they're like, you can't bring that in.
What?
Oh,
they're like, you can't bring that in. And we're like, I'm just like, what?
I would have cried.
and they're asking if we wanted to like go back, like take it back to the car. And, my dad's like, no, we got to get in. And so the ticket guy, he takes it and he just kind of drops it behind a trash can.
Oh my God.
No.
I would have drop kicked that guy.
And so I'm like stunned. So like we're not even, we're coming in and I'm just kind of like stunned. And, my dad's trying to be, like, well, it'll be okay. But yeah, that was like, I remember we went to the restroom before we, got to the seats and stuff, and people were coming up to us like, man, that was a shame about the poster and all this kind of stuff. So I was initially,
that's crazy, man. You can't do that.
I had no idea. I mean, I didn't know where our seats were. Our seats were kind of in the nosebleed area. I didn't know that. So I guess it wouldn't even make sense to have a sign up there. But like I said, I didn't have
that wasn't the point. The point was that you had it and it was yours. And you were
exactly. That's the point.
It was, what was strange was for years, my brother and I thought that maybe they didn't allow this sign because it was a house show. We're like, well, maybe because it wasn't on TV. That's why they didn't allow the sign. But later, we found it was just, who knows, maybe this guy was just an asshole or something. Who knows?
Sounds like it, because I mean, I had my signs checked.
Pedro, man, you should have punched that guy in the nuts.
I've had my signs checked before because I've done a fair amount of posters, but I never had one taken away from me.
Yeah, I mean that's wrong, man. That's just wrong.
Because
it was.
you kind of know when, it's like if you cross the line, you know that if they see that, they're going to take it from you one way or the other.
It was. I was very shell shocked for a little while, because I mean, at that age, I was more precious about the things I would draw or whatever. Later, like years later, after I've been through university and stuff, and I've been trained in art, it's like I'm less precious about the art in a way.
Yeah.
Because it's just a mindset you have to be in to sort of be brave to make stuff. You have to kind of be willing to, like, well, it may go to shit, You're a little less precious about it. But back then, it's like but I remember, like, when we went to the merch thing, and my dad said we could have like a t-shirt or something. Like it went from being reeling from that to like, oh, what can I get? What should I choose?
Yeah.
I'm gonna get an Ultimate Warrior t-shirt and tassels.
I got this tank top of Bret Hart.
Nice.
It was black and it had like pink. It might have had the sunglasses and pink writing.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I think I remember that design. Hold on, I think I remember that design. Wow, man, these guys are breaking up my memory banks.
Because I was a really big Bret Hart fan. I would become an even bigger Bret Hart fan as time went on. He's probably like easily my all-time favorite wrestler is Bret the Hitman Hart.
Yeah, really, Bret Hart, yeah.
But yeah, I was a big Bret Hart fan. But yeah, I got that shirt. My brother got like an Ultimate Warrior shirt. Do you remember they had one? It was like orange. It was like an orange T-shirt with the logo, the face paint logo
with the face paint logo on it.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that's what I
was wearing my yellow Hulkamania T-shirt. I couldn't stand Hulk Hogan. I couldn't stand Hulk Hogan, but I had to wear the T-shirt because it was a gift from my mom. You
said
I got a funny one from a Nitro. They gave out free Hulkamania bandanas, T-shirts, and foam fingers.
Really?
Before his match in Charlotte. It was Arn Anderson and and Ric Flair against Hulk Hogan and Sting, and they gave away all this free merchandise. And because it was in Charlotte, the crowd like ripped up the T-shirts and the foam fingers, and they threw it all back at Gary Michael Capetta during the commercial break. It's like, they wanted to try to get Hulk Hogan more over, and I'm like, you guys are nuts. This is Ric Flair's town. Yeah,
this is Ric Flair country, man. You can't bring that shit over here. Get that guy out of here. This is Ric Flair country.
I mean, it took everything that Capetta had not to laugh out loud. I mean, he's just standing there, people just throwing fingers and stuff at him, like they ripped the finger off of the fist, and they're like throwing them all back at him.
You either loved Hulk Hogan or you hated him. I never met a person who was like, he's all right. No, they're even like extreme marks, or they can't stand him. I can't stand him.
Yeah, I can't stand him.
I can't stand him. There's only one time in my entire life, one time I actually marked out for Hogan. It was when he was coming down the aisle at Bash to the Beach. I thought he was going to beat up the outsiders, and he turned out to be the third man.
Oh, yeah.
That was the only time I marked out for Hogan. I was like, Hogan's going to kick some ass. And then he turned heel. And I was like, what? I said, the one time in my life I marked out for this man, and he screws me. Never again.
My brother and I were Hulk Hogan fans. He wasn't he was never our favorite, but we were Hulk Hogan fans.
I was Don Morocco, and then I loved Jimmy Snuka. He was awesome.
Yeah, my all-time favorite was Mass Superstar.
Yeah, the Mass Superstar. There you go. Yeah, there you go. There you go.
He was, he was big in Mid-Atlantic and Georgia.
Yeah, he was big all over the place. Yeah.
I mean, I feel fortunate. I've been lucky enough to meet him a few times since in the last.
He was awesome, the Mass Superstar.
Yeah, that like people have something bad to say about. It's like, but he was not one of those guys.
No,
you know?
he was good. I actually like watching the spoiler too. He was good.
Oh,
Yep.
the spoiler.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, the spoiler was in Mid Atlantic.
Yes, he was. And
Okay,
he,
in the
didn't
early
he bring that
70s.
belt? Didn't he bring that
Yeah.
Mid Atlantic belt over to WWF TV one day?
He might have,
Yeah,
but he's the guy. When he left Mid Atlantic, the promoter Sandy Scott came to Bill and said, "Hey, you know, spoiler's gone. We need another masked heel."
right.
And I got this idea for the masked superstar. He's like, "Would you like to be him?" Because Bill had been in the Bolos. He was one of the Bolos, you know, the Mongolian tag team dudes,
Mm-hmm.
and the older guy was getting ready to retire, and Bill was like, "Yeah, I'll be masked superstar." He's like, and they kind of talked about it a little bit, and he's like, but you understand, it's like I'm gonna get into this character, I'm gonna be this guy, and he was the masked superstar like 24 hours a day,
Yeah,
365 days a year.
he lived his
And
gimmick.
so,
Yeah.
it's like he lived that type of thing, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, I think that was one of the things that everybody really respected about him.
Oh, that's good. That's good, man.
Who were some of the matches, Pedro, from that show?
Well, yeah, I have a few little stories from it. So the first match was Urinar Shyster, Mike Rotundo,
Mike Rotundo.
Yeah.
Jimmy Superfly Snuka.
Oh wow!
And,
There you go. That's a nice opener.
now, first off, I mean, it was always weird, wasn't it, when Mike Rotundo came back as IRS? Because like we had seen him with Barry Windham.
Yeah,
They were
exactly.
tag team champions. Then we
the
saw him in
U.S.
the
Express.
NWA. We saw him in the NWA. What was that one thing with Kevin Sullivan and Rick Steiner? They were like
the
varsity club. Yeah, the varsity club.
Yeah.
And he was
and then
the
he was
TV
Michael
champion.
Wall Street.
Yeah, he was. Mm-hmm.
And then he comes as IRS, and I was like, "What?" But the funniest,
that was the thing, you know. That was, I mean, you talk about they ported that gimmick. I mean, he was essentially the same guy as Michael Wall Street.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know,
it's true.
But that, you know, they made him into the tax collector, which, you know, who wanted to pay taxes?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
him and $1 Million Man were awesome together.
Oh yeah, they were a good tag team later. Yeah, but the thing I was going to say about that, there is a family sitting above us. And there's like this old man, and he had these really young kids. I was like maybe 15 at the time of the show, but these were like really young kids. And so the match is happening, and the match might have been finished, and I hear the old man say, "I fought the IRS once," and the kids are like, "Did you win?" And he goes, "No." And we're like, everyone around was just laughing and laughing. What else was on there? Oh, talking about early like favorites. When I was young, I remember Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and the Junkyard Dog were like my early
JYD.
favorites. And Ricky the Dragon Steamboat wrestled Haku, and this was during that time when they had him in all that dragon stuff, and he would blow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that weird hat that didn't make any sense.
Yeah, that was a horrible gimmick.
It was a horrible gimmick, but let me say this: the fire thing was so cool live.
Oh yeah, I'm sure live it looks awesome.
It was so awesome live. Like I mean, it was so absurd that they had him in this thing because we've all just saw him, you know, in the last 2 years or so in the NWA tearing it up with Ric Flair, and we saw
those were legendary matches. Those were legendary matches.
We all have all this history with them, like and it's like, why are you doing this weird gimmick with him? But
I got a quick question, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Actually, does anybody know if Ricky the Dragon Steamboat ever turned heel?
They said he did, like, in some small promotion late in his career, but like every time he wanted to do it, like everybody was like, no, you can't do that. But like officially, yes, he did. But
he did. I would have loved to have seen that.
Yeah, officially, yes, he did, but like unofficially, it's kind of a no because it was something that people never, it never got a national thing, and it was never in anywhere big. So,
Right.
I mean, yeah, he finally got to do it for himself, but
Nice. I'm sorry, Pedro. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No problem, man. But yeah, Ricky Steamboat, he beat the Barbarian.
nice.
And,
Was that the
good.
Barbarian in the face paint and looked like a road warrior? Or was that where he was like
I think it's
wearing
where
the
he,
antlers?
yeah, where he had the furry underwear and all that stuff.
Oh, those were brutal days.
Oh, sorry, I got this mixed up. Ricky Steamboat fought Haku. He beat
Haku. Okay, Haku.
Bret Hart fought the Barbarian. So
Okay.
that was Bret Hart fought the Barbarian. Hacksaw Jim Duggan fought Colonel Mustafa, who was the Iron Sheik.
Yeah, Colonel Mustafa.
Oh, yeah.
Iron Sheik. Yeah, I remember that. That was another shitty gimmick.
Yeah. The Mountie, which was the Rougeau versus the Big Boss Man.
Brutal.
The Legion of Doom.
Boss Man was a face, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a face there. Yeah, he was a face.
The Legion of Doom fought the Nasty Boys. I remember that match was kind of short. They just kind of went out there, brawled, and had like a count out, and then posed or whatever. The Legion of Doom pose, not them together.
Right.
Probably a cold beer on ice.
Ted DiBiase versus Rowdy Piper.
Nice.
And then, of course, the main event, what we were the most excited for, which it sounds crazy now, but the Ultimate Warrior versus The Undertaker. And the thing I remember there was the match got off really fast, like the Ultimate Warrior's music hits, and he runs out there, and the first thing he does is he like clotheslines The Undertaker off his feet, knocks him, out of the ring and all this stuff. Everyone is just losing their shit, like, holy shit. He just knocked The Undertaker out of the ring. But then the match got really slow. It just became like them just kind of lumbering around in headlocks and stuff for a long time.
That's because the Warrior was all blown up already. He was all blown up.
Probably.
Yeah, he was tired by that point.
Yeah. He was done. That was it. He goes, okay, time out.
I think it ended like in a disqualification, and then they tried to put the Ultimate Warrior in a body bag, and he did his, shaking and stuff. And
that's the one thing I didn't like about those WWF old school house shows. Nobody got over. It was always a dusty finish. It was a double count out. It was a screw job. This happened. The referee got knocked out. It was, a double disqualification. It was never a clean pin,
Yeah, they were guilty.
They were definitely fishing for people to watch the pay-per-views.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Only other story I have from that show was when we were leaving, when the show was over and we were going to the parking garage, like all you could hear was these echoes of all these kids going, ho, like the Hacksaw Duggan thing.
Yeah.
Ho, ho. It was happening constantly, like walking to the car. Ho.
Yeah. It's one of the greatest nights too, man. You gotta love nights like that.
He got really over with that crowd. He's like, ho. But yeah, that was my first wrestling experience, like seeing it live in person.
Awesome, good job, Pedro. Damn, I wish I was there.
I know the Summit, which is now sadly that
Joel Osteen. You got to be shitting me! Look at that, brutal.
I am not shitting you. You can look that up.
That's disgusting.
The place I saw the Cure, Prince, the Rockets, etc. Joel.
I'm gonna text
Arenas had such cool names back then.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Remember the
Cow
Omni?
Palace and the
Omni. The Omni in Atlanta, yes.
The Boston Garden.
Yep.
Madison Square Garden. The Maple Leaf Garden.
Yep.
In Toronto.
I always felt that everybody else's garden was a ripoff of Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, everybody. I said no. It's only one garden in New York, And okay.
I'm a Southern boy, but I know. It's like, it's like that's the Garden is, if you say the Garden, I never thought of Toronto or Boston. I'm like,
it's
people are like,
it's
oh yeah, that's where
MSG.
the
That's
Celtics
it.
play. I'm like,
No, Celtics, kiss my ass. No. No, but I thought, like, okay, I was real little, and I would ask my mom, you know, how come they call Madison Square Garden, why is it called the Garden? I've never seen flowers in it. I've never seen any flowers anywhere, so why do they call it the Garden? And she was trying to explain it to me for 25 minutes. I was lost. I was like, okay, whatever. That's it. It's just the Garden. That's it. Done deal. I'm like, okay.
that's awesome.
I was like, I've never seen that one flower in it, Mom. Not one flower. So stupid little kid, you see?
Hey, well, speaking of marking out. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, speaking of marking out and first time watching things, do y'all remember the first time you saw Lucha Underground?
Oh, hell yeah. I was sitting in front of my TV. I was just breezing through the El Rey network. And because, they're playing one of the old school movies or something like that. And I saw a commercial, and I saw Matt Striker and Vampiro. And I said, wait a minute, what is this? And I searched through the God on the TV. I was going through the channels, the on-demand channels. I was trying to look for anything that had the word wrestling in it, right? And I couldn't find anything. And then I'm on Facebook one day, and somebody posted the ad. It was they had the series premiere of Lucha Underground. I said, no way, what is this? I was intrigued. I was intrigued. And that first night I watched, it was a wrap. It was over. I was hooked. That was it. It became my new favorite show right then and there.
Well, I'd stopped watching wrestling around 2005 or 2006, after the whole Benoit thing.
Mm.
And, it's like, that had happened, and I'd started really getting into MMA a lot. And so I just let wrestling go for, about 10 years or so. And one of my buddies that I used to draw comic books with, Jason, he kept telling me, he's like, man, you got to check out Lucha Underground. You'd love it. I'm like, I don't even understand what you mean by that. And so finally I got on YouTube, and I looked up, Lucha Underground. They had, one of those 1 minute recaps, and I watched that, and I was like, oh my God, this is
that was
incredible.
it. Yeah.
What the?
Yeah.
So I think I started watching. It was like near the end of season 1, near the end of season 1 is where I was in time. I was catching up to everything, and then I started, hearing them talk during the episodes about, like, hey, join us on Twitter, and I'm like, well, shit, I haven't used my Twitter in a long time. I was like, I still got it, So
it's what got me back on Twitter. It's what got me back on Twitter. The same exact thing, Zeus. Yep, I feel you. The same exact thing.
And I think one of the first people I found that that wasn't one of the luchadors was by Lucha, Mount Lucha.
Mm-hmm.
Lucha.
And and
same here.
so he led me into all the Lucha Click people, all you guys, and I think one of the first things that really caught me was in that first 1 minute thing was Drago, and just seeing his costume for the first time, and that crazy tongue thing. I'm like, whoa, this is amazing, So
that's the thing that got me was where there's no, there were no barriers, there was no nothing. There was absolutely nothing that has kept the wrestlers away from the crowd and the crowd away from the wrestlers. They were going into the crowd, and it was okay. And I was like, what the hell? This is awesome. I said, is this ECW revisited? I'm like, no, wait a minute. And that's what it reminded me of. And I was hooked. Everybody getting
Yeah, I
thrown in
mean,
the
so
crowd. You know,
what
people
about
going
you,
crazy.
Pedro?
The I knew about it because I'd been hearing about it for a while from Lucha Blog and various people on the Death Valley Driver and so forth. So I'd been hearing about it for a while. I just couldn't see it. I didn't have the channel at the cable I had at that time. I didn't have the channel. And I remember after the Aztec Warfare episode in the first season, people were just going nuts about it, especially on the Death Valley Driver. And I'm like, man, I wish I could watch this. And so I looked it up on YouTube, and I saw someone had put the episode, like the entire episode, up on YouTube. And so I watched it, and I was like, holy shit! It's incredible. It's like everything it's like everything you'd want, like and so then I would go back and I would try to find the other episodes, and so by the time the next week came around, I had like been caught up on the rest of the first season. And then I would just, the day after Lucha Underground would air, I would like look for it on YouTube, and I would find it. Sometimes it'd be put up in little parts and stuff, but I would, find the episodes. But that's how I had to follow the first season and the beginning of the second season. I had to wait for people to post it on YouTube. And then,
nice.
I would post about it on Twitter. I would do like hashtag Lucha Underground thoughts, and I would, give my thoughts. And yeah, that's how I think like Krista Joseph started following me, and like he started liking some of the things, and then he started following me, and I was following him back. I didn't really know who he was.
Hell, they never followed me, and I was all excited over that. I was like, oh, Lucha Underground, they listened.
And I remember
they retweet a lot of your stuff, James.
Yeah, I know they do. That's cool. It's all good. It's cool.
I remember when the Lucha Click thing, when I started seeing that hashtag thrown around, there was a guy, I want to say his handle was like Rudo to the Bone or something like that. Do y'all remember someone like that?
Sounds familiar. So. Yeah, it sounds familiar.
He used to tag me on these things saying a Lucha Click, and I didn't know what the hell this was. And it was some point later I started using the hashtag, but initially I didn't know what it meant. But yeah, that's how I started.
It's like that kind of led me to all those those other believers who were regulars in the temple, and Mallory and
all those guys,
and that guy's like Johnny. I can't remember. He doesn't post a lot on Twitter, but you see him all the time in the temple, and then of course the MMM show guys. You see them. They love Byron. They love to show Byron on episodes of Lucha Underground. He's definitely the most the most shown one there. Casey and they had Krista Joseph on MMM show last week too.
I'm just so glad that it was found. I was just watching. I can't remember what movie I was watching, and it just popped up real quick. The commercial popped up real quick, and all I saw was Vampiro and Matt Striker, and I was like, hold on, and I spent like a few days trying to find it on the TV guide. I'm going crazy on the cable box. I'm like, I'm looking for it. And then it was like a month later, it popped up. I was like,
and
yes.
when I would tell a lot of my friends and wrestling friends and people like that I love Lucha Underground, they're like, wow, you're such a you're such an old school guy, and you love you grew up watching Mid Atlantic, and it's like, this is nothing like that. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm like, this is so good because it's not that whole thing has kind of been done to death, and that's why to me WWE is so stale, because they're still trying to do the same old thing, and I wouldn't even watch Impact if it wasn't for the people that are on it, because it's still pretty much the same old pro wrestling model.
Yeah,
but, what we get with Lucha Underground, we get this fantastic story and amazing wrestling
and great production value. Amazing production value.
I mean, it's
the vignettes are amazing.
Yeah, it's a grindhouse feel,
Mhm.
and with these amazing stories, and it's like, nobody's trying to tell me anymore. It's like, oh, well, wrestling's real, wrestling's fake. It's like, shut up, it's a TV show.
Yeah. And now it's literally a TV show with Lucha.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Yeah,
literally
exactly.
a TV show.
I mean, it's like, look, man, people that work in the emergency room don't watch ER, but but millions of people watched it on TV.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that's not the it's not the point. The point is we've taken this because wrestling is a performance art.
Yep, it takes two to tango.
Yeah, and you've got to sit in there. You got to sit down and watch it. And for those people who've been fortunate enough to be in the temple live to see that, it's like it's still incredible. And it's still amazing because you get to see these, what their reactions are fresh, even though it's been recorded. But it's just like the first show I went to was a couple weeks before it was on TV. So that was pre-recorded. So I don't understand where people are. Oh well, it's pre-recorded. I'm like, everything was pre-recorded.
Yeah.
All the ECW.
Everything was pre-recorded. No, never.
It was never live while it was owned by Heyman.
Never live. It took. It was ECW. It would tape like once a month, and you wouldn't see those shows come on for like a month, 2 months later.
Yeah, and because I mean they literally had like nobody doing it except for Paul E. and and Joey Styles. They'd be Joey Styles would have to go down to Paul Heyman's mother and father's basement to do the commentary over top of the taping. Because he wasn't there. He wasn't there when the stuff was taped. He'd be doing it. They'd be doing it secondhand. It's like so. He
was at his real job.
Yeah, right. It's like it's like whenever people are like, oh well, Lucha Underground's recorded already. It's like, duh.
Yeah, well, we all know this, and
yeah. It's like
people from all over the world still trying to go to the tapings. Okay, yeah. I'm still trying to get there. So it's hello.
Yeah, I know. I was hoping you would get there, James.
Let me tell you something, man. I had every single device I owned was open. My phone, both my tablets, my laptop. I had my desktop. I was clicking away, and I still didn't get tickets. I was pissed.
The whole thing though is like by the end, by those last couple of weeks, they were like, if you show up. We'll find you a place.
Zeus, you know what? I was about 5 minutes away from doing that.
I was too. I was like, if I can just find a cheap plane ticket,
I already had the flight booked. I mean, I was ready to go. I was all set. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to show up. I'm going to find somebody. I'll beg if I have to. I don't care.
Yeah, because I mean,
I'll pay money for tickets. I don't care.
I think the three of us are known. We're known by enough other believers, where they would go to some of these guys and say, "Hey, look, man, fucking James Sarno is out there. Hey, Pedro's out there.
Yeah.
Zeus is out there. They don't have tickets, but they're here. They're willing to listen outside of the building. They traveled thousands of miles, and they're willing to sit outside." And drink a Modelo and listen to this happen. If you don't let them in and find them somewhere to sit, stand
on his guitar.
yeah. I mean, we're begging for change to try to bribe somebody to let us have their ticket.
Exactly.
Man, that sounds. Yeah, it would have been nice, but we're gonna have to wrap this up.
Man.
I want to shout out real quick a chat room shout out to Flusemaker and YYH, both of them doing the chat. Thank you guys.
And
YYH,
thank you.
Thanks, guys.
I want to give a shout out to Dante Oblivion, Mil Machetes,
yeah.
CJ De Niro for having me on the Way Too Real show this past Thursday. Thank you.
The whole Way Too Real Lucha Click Lucha Underground Party. Yeah.
They go
love
on.
those guys.
They go on like too late. We go on too early. It's a nice.
It's one big cluster, but it's all good. It's all good.
Nice then.
Then have a beer with them, or you know what? Have some OJ with us. Either way.
Yeah,
that's right.
Shout out to the MMM show, of course.
Definitely, Justin and the guys. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Me, all those guys, and I want to thank everyone for tuning in. We'll see y'all next time, and adios.
We'll see you guys Saturday. Mark out. Later.